We're continuing to prepare for St. Lucia Carnival. And okay, listen, I know some of y'all are like, okay, she's doing too much. St. Lucia Carnival is not until July. As we speak, my bags are packed for Dominica. I am just as flustered and anxious as you are. Okay, but one thing about me is we're going to stay ready so we don't have to get ready. Let's get into transportation. First and foremost, we're going to get into your transportation as soon as you land. If you are flying internationally, most likely you'll be flying into the UVF airport, which is in Vieux Fort, St. Lucia. That is roughly about an hour and a half away from where you most likely will be staying up in Gozile, Rodney Bay area, which is in the northern part of the island. The price range for that would be roughly between $80 at a minimum and up to $120 maximum. That will be your range. This is contingent to the personal driver that you choose to use or the company that you decide to use. If you do not want to drive, there are ferry options that you can use as well as helicopter options. So you have to figure out what's best for you, what's best for your party, and what's best for your budget. If you are flying into Caribbean, you will have a much smoother ride as you will be landing at the SLU airport, which is already up in the northern part of the island. Your ride might be at most 20 minutes to whichever hotel or Airbnb you might be staying in Gozile and Rodney Bay or even Castries. So the ride will be, your commute will be much better. But again, this is for the inter-Caribbean flights. Next, we're going to get into the transportation throughout your stay. You do have several options. First and foremost, you have personal drivers. When it comes to personal drivers, usually that is going to be via word of mouth. You can always source your own drivers via social media. There are so many that do advertise their services online via Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. I personally have no problem sharing my contacts, but I'm going to wait until we get a little bit closer to the time because I want to get clearance from them first, and I just want to ensure that they will be operating this carnival season. If you are in St. Lucia and you have a taxi service and you are a personal driver and a reliable one and a fair price one, don't come in here with nonsense. This is a resource hub over here. Don't come in with nonsense. Reliable, fair priced, and safe drivers. Go ahead and link your contacts here as well. Next thing that I'm going to touch on are your rideshare services. First and foremost, I'm going to big up Ale, which is a St. Lucian-owned and woman-owned rideshare company. They are competitively priced and convenient. When I used the services back in 2024, there were a limited amount of drivers. I can only presume up to now, a lot more drivers have been added to the roster. So that is available to you. As far as I know up to now, I think the rates have increased. There are a few things to note, operating costs for one, but also I believe if you're using the service throughout Carnival, that is a peak time throughout. So I do anticipate the rates being a little bit higher, but it is very transparent. When you put in your destination, you'll see the rates and it's fixed, nothing changes. So that is consistent and you don't have to worry about haggling prices because the price is the price. This is a great system to use if you prefer to be as cashless as possible. You just put in your card information through the app and it takes care of the rest. It operates and it functions just like Uber. The next rideshare service that I'm going to share is Tropicabs. Now, Tropicabs, I have not personally used. Based upon me kind of playing around on their website and looking at estimates, they seem to be just a little higher priced and their rates are not as fixed. So they function almost like your metered cabs, where if there is traffic or if there are any obstructions or delays on the ride, it will change your rate. So it may either increase or decrease. I'm not too crazy about that. I want a fixed rate. I want to know what my fare is going to be at the end of my trip. I don't want to play guessing games with traffic. The price should be the price. But I think that maybe they might have a lot more drivers available. I don't know how established this company is because I personally have not had to use it and I haven't heard anybody really talk about it while I was on the island. But I think it's a good resource to have in your back pocket in the event that you cannot find a personal driver or your personal driver bails on you or Ale is not available to you. You may not want to use the bus system or the bus may not be operating at the time that you need them. So it's definitely, even though it might be a little bit on the pricier side, at least you have reliable transportation available to you. But what I do want to note, a plus that Tropicabs does have is a food delivery service. Now, it functions similarly to Uber Eats. It's a bit different though. Instead of actually selecting your menu options through the app, it doesn't have that. You would have to call the restaurant directly, ensure that they take telephone orders, and your driver can pick it up for you. This is very convenient if you've had a long day and you do not want to ride around looking for food and picking up food. So this is a great service to have. That's why I say don't throw this company away. Definitely keep them as a resource. The last rideshare service that I'm going to share is Uber. As of January 2026, Uber has been implemented in St. Lucia. Now, I don't know how this looks like for local drivers. Because one thing about me, I want everybody to eat and I want you to get your full profit. So I don't know how much nickel and diming and how much dipping into the pot that Uber's going to do. So I will say use this as your last resource. We are supporting local. We are buying local. We are shopping. Listen, I love to support local as much as possible. So, and this is peak season. This is peak time for drivers, for merchants, for vendors, for restaurants, for hotels. Let them eat, okay? Only time will tell what Uber is going to look like in the long run for local drivers. I can see this alleviating the strain for taxi services and personal drivers, and it allows for more availability as they are expecting a lot more visitors each year. Your last option to navigating transporting around St. Lucia, of course, is renting a car. I will say you can rent out a vehicle if you are comfortable driving in St. Lucian traffic and if you are comfortable with their terrain. I personally would not recommend this if you are coming in internationally. I understand, especially if you are going with a large group, this might be a more cost-effective option, but you have to take into account where you will have to park your vehicles at these events and if you will be consuming alcohol. If you are comfortable driving around St. Lucia, if you are comfortable with sitting in bumper to bumper traffic, and if you know that you will have a designated driver in your group, go right on ahead and save your coins. But I'll be honest in saying that you can find yourself a fair price driver that can accommodate your large party. You can get a large enough vehicle, whether it be an SUV or a van, that can ride you around. You can negotiate rates with them. You do not have to concern yourself with where you park your vehicle, because some of these events you may have to park further away. Sometimes they limit the access to certain points of the event versus where if you would be dropped off by a driver, you can get a little bit closer to the front entrance. So you have to take that all into consideration. I can only presume people who are familiar with the island or people who are of Aleutian descent who might be visiting family, this is going to be, of course, a more convenient option because they know all the back roads and they know how to navigate. But if you are coming from foreign and you think you can navigate it, it's a different kind of beast, okay? I don't recommend it. Definitely negotiate rates and prices. You will find yourself a fair price driver that will be at your service.